Welcome back. This is Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is the beginning of a new section called Business Information Systems. This chapter is on electronic and mobile commerce. So as always, we're going to start with the learning objectives. What is it we're supposed to get out of this particular section? Describe the current status of types of e-commerce, multi-stage purchasing model, what's the difference between m-commerce, e-commerce. Define the applications. They don't mean programs. They mean the application of e-commerce. Identify advantages. Oh, that's a perfect opportunity for some test questions to come out of that section. Identify benefits and challenges. Yeah, fertile ground for some test questions there too. Define the key components of successful strategies. Identify key components in the technology. And discuss the features of electronic payment and that kind of stuff. Okay, so I always like talking about the gold section. And the gold section is all about, why do I have to learn this? And if you take a minute just to read this, it basically talks about, all the rest of the web is really moot if you can't make any money off of it. And that's what this is all about. This is all about making money off of the web. So yeah, it'd be kind of cool that you understand this part. So, this has been very transformative. There've been some companies that have just not kept up and just, waited too long to get into the electronic business, and now they're gone. Yeah. Companies that are just gone out of business completely because of electronic commerce. You think about, movie rental places. You used to go down and get a VHS, a VCR tape, and now everyone just streams it live. Anyway, so yes, this is important. Okay, the first thing is kind of start talking about like definition of terms. What is electronic commerce? And their definition is pretty good, but essentially, if you were to cut this paragraph down into a nutshell, what it would basically says is doing business over the internet. That's it. That's all what e-commerce is. It's not really anything fancy. Those types of businesses that are likely to get benefit from this would be like things that are still using paper or still, very time consuming or just tedious, and therefore going to electronic would speed things up. But almost all businesses can get away with having some sort of electronic commerce. I mean, yeah, you can't change the oil over the web, but I can schedule my appointment at the dealership to have my oil changed. That kind of stuff. Okay. They talk about the three categories. And the first one is the business to business. So this is an example that I keep using over and over again, so I might as well use it again, huh? Is, Dell makes computers, and Intel makes processors that go inside computers. And so there's a business-to-business relationship there where the folks at Dell order parts from Intel, and, that relationship is probably pretty tight, and they have an electronic business-to-business commerce going on where they buy and sell things back and forth. So the whole idea is big boys doing business. Mostly, we're talking about wholesale kind of stuff, where sales taxes aren't really involved, and you're buying in bulk. You're not buying one processor or that kind of stuff. You're buying 100,000 things at a time. So that's essentially what business to business. Now, it doesn't have to be that. I mean, if I'm a lumber yard and I want to order some lumber from some supplier, I can order a single sheet of plywood, but hey, okay, you got my point, I think. Whew. The next one is the business to consumer, B2C. Now, this is the one that you and I probably get involved with. I go to Amazon and look up something, and, I'm buying a blender or a coffee maker, or maybe a new part for, my lawnmower, or maybe I'm buying another computer. I go to Amazon first to poke around to see what's going on. Even if I don't end up buying it from them, I go there first so I can see what the choices are. Okay. So this is what started with, the original brick and mortar retailers. Okay, the people who had honest to God stores and you would go to the store and browse the number of products. So let's say you were interested in buying a new modem, and back in the days when telephone modems were actually available, you could go to to Best Buy or Circuit City or all these other Radio Shack, all these companies that don't even exist anymore, and go look at, and they would have 5 or 6 of these things on the shelf, and you could pick them up and browse and look at the box, and jump into your car and go to the next brick and mortar store and do it all over again. So you can spend an hour doing research on what modem to buy. Obviously, that's not the way we do it now. Okay, so business to consumer is about normal kind of shopping that you're familiar with, where you have a business at one end and you, the consumer, at the other end. It's not really that much business. Here's an interesting thing. They talk about the amount of sales that we have due to e-commerce. It's pretty doggone amazing. There's another thing coming here talking about the growth of these sales. Here's like the number one retailer, electronic retailer in the nation. Yep, cool. Okay. There's some more things. Next one is the consumer to consumer. Now this is where I cleaned out my attic and I found some baseball playing cards, and I don't really know how much they're worth, so I just put them out on eBay and say, look, here they are. You guys bid, and if they're worth something, great, I'll get a lot of money. If they're not worth anything, then I won't hardly get any money. But I don't really know or care, and so I'm not a professional. I don't have a business license per se. I'm just some poor slob who's selling Beanie Babies on eBay or playing cards. So this is designed for kind of a short duration kind of thing, not a complete setup. I'm not really in the business of selling Beanie Babies. I just so happen to have a collection. So you guys know what all this is. Here's a really cool chart that's fertile ground for test questions, by the way. Talks about the difference between the 3 categories. Okay, so business to business, business to consumer, and consumer. So what is the value of the sale? You can probably imagine that the Dell buying processors from Intel would be lots of money. Me selling Beanie Babies, not so much. The length of the sales process. In other words, how long does it take for this arrangement to last? If it's me selling Beanie Babies, it's like 20 minutes. I mean, you contact me, we agree with the price, I ship it, and we're done. But most likely, Intel has a tremendously long agreement with Dell, for example. Picking out some of the things that are important. The length of the relationship, that's an interesting one. The difficulty of initial setup. In other words, how much time and energy is it going to take to set up me going to eBay to sell Beanie Babies? Nothing. How long is it going to take me to set up an arrangement to buy processors from Intel? I'm probably going to have to meet. We have to write up a contract. It could take weeks, months to set up that arrangement. The value and frequency of trade. How often am I going to be doing this? Those are all kind of key factors. Okay, moving right along. The next one they talk about on page 370 is e-government. And they propose, G to C and G to B and G to G. Now, I don't do that, okay? Because quite frankly, it's not all that relevant. It's not really another category. It's the same as B to B and B to C and C to, it's the same thing. It's just, come on. Anyway, the idea is, people can renew their driver's license online. Okay, that's great. So not really a new category. It's just that one of the businesses happens to be the government. Okay. Down here on the same page, they start talking about mobile commerce. Now, there really isn't much of a distinction between electronic commerce and mobile commerce. The distinctions are kind of sort of vague, and they have tremendous overlap. So don't let these terms kind of mess with you. So basically the idea is, e-commerce is, what was the definition? I just told you not too long ago. It was basically doing business over the internet. And so mobile commerce is essentially the same thing. It just says doing business over the internet where one guy is mobile. Okay. So again, the distinction is very vague. Am I on a full-blown computer, or am I on a tablet or a phone? That's essentially it. Not that much difference. There used to be one of those top-level domains, TDLs, like .com, .gov, .edu, those guys. There used to be a Mobi, and it was designed to let you know that you were talking on a phone. And so you would go to a .com if you're on a computer, and you would go to the .mobi site if you're on a small form factor. Now that is just not used anymore. In fact, if you go take the class on web pages, basically what they're saying is don't do that, and instead use a technique that will automatically discover what the size of your screen is and the orientation, whether you're holding it in landscape or portrait, and then a single web page using this new set of technologies will send you the correct format of data so it looks good on your screen. Now, I will tell you that that's not really what I do. I mean, I have a phone, and it has tremendous resolution, and I'll admit it's tiny, okay? I don't know what 5.7 inches diagonal, whatever the screen size is. But when I go to a website and it says, say, would you like the mobile version of this website? I typically say no, I don't. Because my phone is full-featured enough, and I can scroll and zoom in if I wanted to. So I certainly don't use .mobi, and I don't even use the other technology that custom provides me content to my mobile device. I typically tell the website, no, send me everything as if I was a full computer. That's what I do. You don't have to do that, but that's what I do. Okay. One of the things they talk about is the annual growth rate. I mean, this is kind of amazing. They talk about 28% growth rate, annual growth rate on the amount of work that gets done over a mobile device. And so clearly, if you're in the web business, you need to be spending one heck of a lot of time making sure that your website is mobile friendly. Okay, cool. The next section talks about the m-commerce websites, and from this point in the book, the chapter on, they kind of mix m-commerce and e-commerce together from this point on, so it gets a little confusing because, I don't know, it's a little weird. Anyway, so what are the top rated mobile and if you ever went to like Toys R Us, I recommend you do this. Okay, I recommend you whip out your phone and go to Toys R Us and look at their mobile version of their webpage. It's actually pretty doggone good. They did a good job at that. Okay. Now we're talking about advantages and disadvantages. There's a lot of good information in here, so kind of pay attention because once again, this is fertile ground for some test questions. All right. So the first one is I get new customers. So let's say that I'm a clockmaker in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I hand carve cuckoo clocks. And my customer base is the people who happen to find my store as they drive downtown. That's it. That's the only customers I got. Well, with electronic cameras, again, no distinction between mobile here. Then I get people calling from all over people placing orders all over the world. So I get a lot of new customers. Now there are some businesses where that's just flat not going to work. I'm not going to call somebody in Japan to come fix my toilet leak, okay? But I can look up plumbers online, so they better well have a website, okay? But so yes, reaching new customers. Reducing cost. Yeah, obviously there's very few middlemen in between. I mean, I don't have to pay for a lot of, warehousing and all the rest of this place. I'm selling directly to you. Anyway, lots of good information here on how to reduce costs. But we're at the 15-minute mark, so we'll pick this up again in just a minute.